Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Out of the Park Baseball 26 series, Rescue the Rockies. And we are getting close on the midway point of the off season. It's January 15th. The IAFA signing period begins today, and that's going to be a primary focus of ours in this episode. It's been a very quiet off season for our Colorado Rockies. Haven't done anything of significant note in the free agent market, and not really anything all that interesting in the trade market either. But we have won 5 straight World Series, so just for the most part, except for 2 departures to our team, longtime reliever Wellington Herrera and longtime infielder Rosniel DePaula, think that largely bringing back the crew that has been a pretty dominant team should have us in a position to once again be very competitive next year. But it's actually this year at this point, since it is now 2038, next season, more technically. But as I noted, the International Amateur Free Agent Class is going to be the primary focus of the early going in this episode. Outlined the class last time around, and there is a pretty strong consensus among the worldwide scouting department to go big or go home this time around. There are 3 players who received strong support from the worldwide scouting department is either the top player to consider or one of the top players to consider. And perhaps not surprisingly, those are the 3 players that, according to our scout, have 80 potential. Center fielder Luis Happy of Manayunk Rivas, left-handed hitting 16-year-old center fielder with dual Venezuelan and Italian citizenship, is the recommendation of DLL first base 14 and Dustin Durbin. Certainly looks like a very impressive potential bat. I think the contact and the eye can both be excellent. The gap power can be world-class, combined with close to world-class speed and acceptable home run power. Like the high baseball IQ, looks like a corner outfield type. That's really kind of all he could do. With his 6'1" height, we could play him at first base, but he's certainly not going to be special there with those ratings and the fact that he's not a giant at 6'1". So Rivas, though, certainly on the short list of players that we would consider. Shortstop Alberto Pringles Limon, more popular with the worldwide scouting department than Rivas. DLL first base 14 and Dustin Durbin both had him on their lists, along with Almost Scientific History Clips, Ravenspawn 3, Not My 4-Ply, and Avery Shayam, having him either on their lists or in a number 1 spot for those who had more specific rankings in their choices. Limon, very interesting hitting prospect. The 16-year-old looks like an acceptable contact hitter if he reaches his full potential, with the potential for outstanding gap power, home run power, and eye. Like the high adaptability, pretty interesting glove for a 16-year-old. Speed is only average, but will the bat that Limon has, certainly think he is an extremely interesting prospect to consider. With a $3 million price tag, he's looking for just a little bit less than Mr. Rivas. The same can be said about starting pitcher Manny Hernandez, also a $3 million demand from him. Hernandez ultimately is the choice and recommendation of the worldwide scouting department. Similar list with some names that had Hernandez 1 or 1A or on the list that was not ranked, and then several others who ranked him number 1. The supporters of Manny Hernandez include Almost Scientific History Clips, YME943, Ravenspawn 3, DLL First Base 14, Dustin Durbin, Plasma Bolt 99, Not My 4-Ply, Scott Donovan, and Danny Trainer. So a lot of support for Manny Tucker Hernandez, 16-year-old. Think that his stuff, movement, and control could all be well above average. Has the potential for a 4 to 5 pitch arsenal. If things work out reasonably well, feel pretty confident that he'll have 3 good solid major league pitches, ground ball tendencies, potential to hit triple digits on the radar gun, outstanding stamina, and high leadership. There is a lot to like about all 3 of these players. Ultimately, to me, it comes down to the shortstop Limon against the starting pitcher Manny Hernandez, as interesting as Luis Rivas is. And we are going to take a flyer on the pitcher, at least to begin. We're going to offer him every penny we have. Hopefully he'll join us. If he doesn't join us and take our maximum bid right away, the hope is that we may be able to pivot to Alberto Limon. Tucker Hernandez asking for $3 million, but again is clearly one of the top players in this pool. We are going to offer him every penny that we can and go ahead and submit that offer to Manny Hernandez, who we hope could be a big-time pitcher 6 or 7 years from now. And although it hasn't worked for us in a few recent seasons, the aggressive approach right out of the box with Manny Hernandez does work. Gave him every penny that we could, and he is now a member of the Colorado Rockies organization. Both Limon and Rivas still on the market at this point. We will certainly add both of those players to our short lists to track what they are able to do in their development and hopefully their careers over time. And we've made it to the start of the preseason. Some good news, although it doesn't do much for us now. Mr. Monfort has raised our team budget by $12 million to $280 million, so further extending the biggest budget that we've ever had with this team, but not really too many interesting players left to sign here on January 26th, and we don't really have any significant holes to fill. Will give us the ability to take on even more contracts as we get closer to the All-Star break when the season does begin, and we'll probably, for the heck of it and the fun of it, just max out our scouting, which we haven't done through the course of this playthrough. He actually did also drop our international amateur free agent budget, but I believe that $48.80 is the most that we're allowed to spend anyways right now, so don't think that that's going to have any material impact on our planning or our future. And we've been adding a minor league free agent or two over the past couple of weeks, but nothing particularly interesting. You can see third baseman Seth Ramirez and left fielder Mike Lane, some recent additions to our organization. But we've made it to the start of spring training, which means we're one day away from finding out what happened through our long trips in the development lab. Not a particularly fruitful few months, it doesn't seem. Jake Lyons excelling in his control program. Jesse Hoffmeister on track with his pitch movement, but just barely so. And Melvin Luisito Reyes also on track with his pitch movement programs. Hold out a little hope that maybe David Guadron will magically improve his pitch arsenal, and David Snacks Marsh not too far behind in generating bat speed, but with just 1 day to go, looking like 3 successful programs is our most likely outcome. Slim chance of 2 and a slim chance of 4, and that's probably about it. We've got right now just the 40 players on our 40-man roster in spring training, so we'll spend some time offline building up the spring training roster and figuring out exactly who's going to be getting some playing time before we sim forward to tomorrow and find out what happened in the development lab in this episode that's going to likely prove to be a rather short one. And we'll have a few interesting names in camp here, even though not all of these players are likely to make the team, and in fact, most of them probably will not. Hendrik Jan van Gorkum, big supporters among our Dutch viewers for the tall tactician. He was a big IAFA signing of ours over 7 years ago at this point. His bat just really hasn't developed. 24 years old now, still a decent glove. Hit 282 in Double-A Hartford a year ago, but at this point in his career, he's not a true prospect. We're just trying to save a little bit of face by inviting a guy that we spent a lot of money on, $4 million, 7 years ago, as I noted, to spring training to hopefully be able to trick Mr. Montfort into thinking that he wasn't as bad a decision to bring on board as he ended up being. Elliot Bedford, a young catcher who was a third-round pick in 2034, split last year between high A and double A, where he was extremely effective. Certainly is a profile that indicates he could be a backup catcher for us in the not-too-distant future. Respectable bat and a respectable glove. David Marsh, we mentioned, we'll find out how he did with his Generate Bat Speed program shortly. The former second-round pick. Only made it up to high A ball a year ago at the age of 21 years old now. Presumably will be starting this year in high A or possibly double A. Not a real threat to make the 26-man roster, but still good to get a little deeper, better look at him here in the spring. And then Carlos Barrel Davila, the number 3 prospect in baseball, an IAFA signing from 4 years ago who's worked out really well. Struggled a bit when we promoted him from high A to double A as a 20-year-old last year. Presumably will be starting this year in double A most likely. Would expect that we could see him in triple A before the end of the season, though, and if things go particularly well in terms of Barrel's development, maybe we see him in the majors before the end of the year. And pitching-wise, we've got a few youngsters in camp as well. Alan Rancourt is a guy who we picked in the 3rd round just 2 years ago out of UC Riverside. Has not really developed into the left-handed relief prospect that we thought he might. Had an ERA of close to 6 in high A ball and over 13 in a small sample size in double A year ago. Another guy we're just trying to save face with by having him in the major league camp during at least the early stages of spring training. Tony Pantoja, 2nd-round pick a year ago. Was 1-1 with a 7.24 ERA and 3 starts in double A after he was pretty effective in high A ball once we brought him in from the draft league. But another guy who looks like a useful major league arm in a best case scenario. Eric Schweitzer, more of a big-time prospect, the number 67 prospect in baseball, guy we picked up when we traded away Drew Romo to the White Sox years ago. He made it up to double A last year. He could be quite possibly starting this year in triple A, and looking at his ratings right now, depending on what he looks like a few weeks from now, and if we have any injury issues, he could even perhaps make the jump from 3 games in double A to the majors if things go a bit unexpectedly here during spring training. Last but not least, Mike Witherspoon, 1st-round pick from 2034. The 21-year-old 12-1 in high A ball, combined 18-1 last year between A and high A. 21-year-old looks like he could still be a pretty solid major league pitcher if everything comes together. Given the high adaptability and work ethic, our hope is that things will. He's going to get his introduction to the major league camp here. Presumably will be starting the year in double A, but another guy, if things go well over the course of this season, could certainly be in consideration for a September call-up at the age of 21. And we won our first spring training game 6-5 over the Miami Marlins, and it looks like things went about as expected for us. 3 successful or outstanding programs when all was said and done. David Guadron did not improve his pitch arsenal. Leo Martinez did not improve his endurance. Carlos Barrel Davila, unfortunately, did not improve his gap power. David Marsh, who we were just talking about not that long ago, no improvement in bat speed. And Mike Witherspoon, who we talked about also, no improvement in his pitch movement program. Did have a successful result for Melvin Reyes in pitch movement. Current movement improved by 20. That's pretty successful. Don't know that we're seeing that in the scouting report quite yet. Well, it says it's a scouting report as of today, but don't see any movement in terms of his ratings there. But still good to have Luisito with a positive result. He was pretty disappointing last year with an ERA of over 6 and 33 2/3 major leagues innings. Certainly a strong contender to make the roster again this year, which is part of the reason we felt comfortable investing in him in the development lab. Jesse Hoffmeister, successful with his pitch movement program. Current movement rating improved by 5 for him. Again, not necessarily seeing that in the ratings quite yet, but hopefully it did actually take place. And last but not least, Jake Lyons, an outstanding result in his Improve Control program. Potential and current control both improved by 5 points. The 25-year-old wasn't great with an ERA in the mid-5s when he finally got to make his major league debut. He's a guy we picked in 2034 in the second round out of West Virginia. Has not progressed as rapidly through the system as we would have hoped, but certainly a contender to make the major league roster this year coming out of spring training. And before we call it an episode, we'll take a look at what we've got teed up for the shorter development lab programs during spring training. As usual, a pretty big defense focus. Outfielder Phil Dingwell going to work on his base stealing technique. We've got the pitcher David Guadron, third baseman Trent Kaysen, second baseman Johnny Castillo, and second baseman Carlos Barrel Davila, all working on their infield defense. David Snacks Marsh, Mike Castro working on outfield defense, and Elliot Bedford working on his defense at catcher. Pretty good mix between some experienced young major leaguers and some guys who are true prospects with no major league experience in these shorter development lab programs. We'll find out next episode how things work out, but happy that we got the big gun in international amateur free agency. We will find out over the coming years whether or not he develops into a true frontline starter, which certainly seems possible. Other than that, the big goal is to keep this team healthy. Next episode during spring training, make some decisions on the 26-man roster, probably add a few more players to minor league contracts, and hopefully have some good results in the development lab. And we'll find out the answers to our pursuit of all of those various things in our next episode. Until then, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.